UEFA Champions League. The UEFA Champions League, abbreviated as UCL, or sometimes UEFA-CL, is an annual club football competition organized by the Union of European Football Associations (UEFA) and contested by top-division European clubs, deciding the competition winners through a round-robin group stage to qualify for a double-leg knockout format and a single-leg final. It is one of the most prestigious football tournaments in the world and the most prestigious club competition in European football, played by the national league champions and, for some nations, one or more runners-up of their national association. European Association Football Tournament, European Champions League, and European Cup. Redirect here. For the trophy, see European Champion Clubs Cup. For other uses, see Champions League disambiguation and European Cup disambiguation. This article is about the men's competition. For the women's competition, see UEFA Women's Champions League football tournament, introduced in 1955 as the Coupe de Clubs Champions Européens, French for European Champion Clubs Cup, and commonly known as the European Cup. It was initially a straight knockout tournament open only to the champions of Europe's domestic leagues, with its winner reckoned as the European Club Champion. The competition took on its current name in 1992, adding a round-robin group stage in 1991 and allowing multiple entrants from certain countries since the season. It has since been expanded, and while most of Europe's national leagues can still only enter their champion, the strongest leagues now provide up to 4 teams. Clubs that finish next in line in their national league, having not qualified for the Champions League, are eligible for the second-tier UEFA Europa League competition, and since 2021, for the third-tier UEFA Europa Conference League. In its present format, the Champions League begins in late June with a preliminary round, 3 qualifying rounds, and a play-off round, all played over 2 legs. The 6 surviving teams enter the group stage, joining 26 teams qualified in advance. The 32 teams are drawn into 8 groups of 4 teams and play each other in a double round-robin system. The 8 group winners and 8 runners-up proceeds to the knockout phase that culminates with the final match in late May or early June. The winner of the Champions League qualifies for the following year's Champions League, the UEFA Super Cup, and the FIFA Club World Cup. Spanish clubs have the highest number of victories, 19 wins, followed by England 14 wins and Italy 12 wins. England has the largest number of winning teams, with 5 clubs having won the title. The competition has been won by 22 clubs, 13 of which have won it more than once, and 8 successfully defended their title. Real Madrid is the most successful club in the tournament's history, having won it 14 times, including the first 5 seasons and also 5 of the last 9. Only one club has won all of their matches in a single tournament en route to the tournament victory, Bayern Munich. In the season, Real Madrid are the current European champions, having beaten Liverpool in the 2022 final. History. Main article: History of the European Cup and UEFA Champions League. See also List of European Cup and UEFA Champions League finals. First time the champions of 2 European leagues met was in what was nicknamed the 1895 World Championship, when English champions Sunderland beat Scottish champions Hearts. The first pan-European tournament was the Challenge Cup, a competition between clubs in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. 3 years later, in 1900, the champions of Belgium, Netherlands, and Switzerland, which were the only existing leagues in continental Europe at the time, participated in the Coupe van der Straten-Ponthus, thus being dubbed as the club championship of the continent by the local newspapers. The Mitropa Cup, a competition modeled after the Challenge Cup, was created in 1927, an idea of Austrian Hugo Meisel, and played between Central European clubs. In 1930, the Coupe des Nations, French Nations Cup, the first attempt to create a cup for national champion clubs of Europe, was played and organized by Swiss club Servette, held in Geneva. It brought together 10 champions from across the continent. The tournament was won by each Hest of Hungary. Latin European nations came together to form the Latin Cup in I after receiving reports from his journalists over the highly successful South American Championship of Champions of 1948. Gabriel Hannett, editor of Swipe, began proposing the creation of a continent-wide tournament. In interviews, Jacques Ferrin, one of the founders of the European Champions Cup, together with Gabriel Hanet, said that the South American Championship of Champions was the inspiration for the European Champions Cup, after Stan Cullis declared Wolverhampton Wanderers champions of the world following a successful run of friendlies in the Urs, in particular a friendly victory against Budapest Honved. Hanet finally managed to convince UEFA to put into practice such a tournament. It was conceived in Paris in 1955 as the European Champion Club's Cup. Alfredo Di Stefano, pictured in 1959, led Real Madrid to 5 consecutive European Cup titles between 1956 and Earth's first European Cup took place during the season. 16 teams participated, some by invitation: AC Milan, Italy; AGF Aarhus, Denmark; Anderlecht, Belgium; Djurgården, Sweden; Gwardia Warszawa, Poland; Hibernian, Scotland; Partizan, Yugoslavia; PSV Eindhoven, Netherlands; Rapid Wien, Austria; Real Madrid, Spain; Rot-Weiss Essen, West Germany; Saarbrücken, Saar; Servette, Switzerland; Sporting CP, Portugal; Stade de Reims, France; and Verzlobod, Hungary. The first European Cup match took place on 4 September 1955 and ended in a draw between Sporting CP and Partizan. The first goal in European Cup history was scored by João Baptista Martins of Sporting CP. The inaugural final took place at the Parc des Princes between Stade de Reims and Real Madrid on 13 June 1956. The Spanish squad came back from behind to win thanks to goals from Alfredo Di Stefano and Marquitos, as well as 2 goals from Hector Rial. Real Madrid successfully defended the trophy next season in their home stadium, the Santiago Bernabéu, against Fiorentina. After a scoreless first half, Real Madrid scored twice in 6 minutes to defeat the Italians. In 1958, Milan failed to capitalize after going ahead on the scoreline twice, only for Real Madrid to equalize. The final, held in Heysel Stadium, went to extra time, where Francisco Gento scored the game-winning goal to allow Real Madrid to retain the title for the 3rd consecutive season. In a rematch of the first final, Real Madrid faced Stade Reims at the Nebra Stadion for the 1959 final and won. West German side Eintracht Frankfurt became the first non-Latin team to reach the European Cup final. The 1960 final holds the record for the most goals scored, with Real Madrid beating Eintracht Frankfurt in Hampden Park, courtesy of 4 goals by Ferenc Puskás and a hat-trick by Alfredo Di Stefano. This was Real Madrid's 5th consecutive title, a record that still stands tall. Real Madrid's reign ended in the season when bitter rivals Barcelona dethroned them in the first round. Barcelona were defeated in the final by Portuguese side Benfica at Waldorf Stadium. Reinforced by Eusebio, Benfica defeated Real Madrid at the Olympic Stadium in Amsterdam and kept the title for a 2nd consecutive season. Benfica wanted to repeat Real Madrid's successful run of the Urs after reaching the showpiece event of the European Cup, but a brace from Brazilian-Italian José Altafini at the Wembley Stadium gave the spoils to Milan, making the trophy leave the Iberian Peninsula for the first time ever. Inter Milan beat inaging Real Madrid in the Ernst Happel Stadium to win the season and replicate their local rivals' success. The title stayed in Milan for the 3rd year in a row after Inter beat Benfica at their home ground, the San Siro, under the leadership of Jock Stein. Scottish club Celtic beat Inter Milan in the 1967 final to become the first British club to win the European Cup. The Celtic players that day, all of whom were born within 30 miles 48 of Glasgow, subsequently became known as the Lisbon Lions. Johan Cruyff, pictured in 1972, won the European Cup 3 times in a row, with a Jackson season saw Manchester United become the first English team to win the European Cup, beating 2 times winners Benfica in the final. This final came 10 years after the Munich air disaster, which had claimed the lives of 8 United players and left their manager, Matt Busby, fighting for his life. In the season, Ajax became the first Dutch team to reach the European Cup final, but they were beaten by Milan, who claimed their 2nd European Cup, with Pirino Prati scoring the hat-trick. The season saw the first Dutch winners of the competition. Feyenoord knocked out the defending champions, Milan, in the 2nd round, before beating Celtic in the final. In the season, Ajax won the title, beating Greek side Panathinaikos in the final. The season saw a number of changes, with penalty shootouts being introduced, and the away goals rule being changed so that it would be used in all rounds except the final. It was also the first time a Greek team reached the final, as well as the first season that Real Madrid failed to qualify. Having finished sixth in La Liga the previous season, Ajax went on to win the competition 3 years in a row, 1971 to 1973, which Bayern Munich emulated from 1974 to 1976, before Liverpool won their first two titles in 1977 and 1978.